Starting on May the 1st this year, 2025, I will be cycling across Canada, which is for Americans, it's 5,000 miles. For Canadians and most of the rest of the world, it's 8,000 kilometers.
Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Aaron Boster. Today I am joined by an amazing friend. I'm super excited to share. He's got quite an adventure planned. Dominic, thank you for joining the channel.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me.
You have been very busy, my friend. Can you fill us in?
What am I doing? Starting on May the 1st this year, 2025, I will be cycling across Canada, which is for Americans, it's 5,000 miles. For Canadians and most of the rest of the world, it's 8,000 kilometers.
That's colossal, like by definition. What on earth prompted you to come up with this idea?
There's a neurologist who sadly died, who's called Matt Craner, and he was my neurologist for a while, and he was really into cycling. Matt had cycled across the US when he finished his PhD in the US, though he's British. This was about 15 years ago, and Matt was saying, Dominic, I think you've done so well, because I've had MS for 33 years now. He said, because you've been so active. Plus, I was born in Vancouver. I've seen as far west as Calgary. I've never been any further on an albeit pretty large country, and I thought this is my one chance in my life before I pop my clogs to see the whole country. My wife thinks I'll get eaten by a bear. She said the donations will double.
You've crafted this in such a way as a fundraiser, as you mentioned, to raise money for MS. Can you talk a little bit about that?
As you know, and as how we met, I've been quite sort of deeply involved in the MS, but the whole focus seems to me, or the vast majority of the focus seems to be on raising money for what I call the lab coats and the test tube type research. And this is patient side stuff. Brain health, which is the one thing that we as individuals, regardless of anything else, can do something about, MS brain health. And it's raising money to help people with the smaller projects. When it's sort of not always patient led, it may be led by a society or a regional group or something, but with patients involved. And whether it's paying for t-shirts in the village hall rental, you know what I mean? Just seed funding to kickstart people too, because I think we work better when we help ourselves out. If I'm accountable to my pal and other people in the group, and I know that they know what I know about having MS and some of the challenges, and maybe today is just a crap day, and I don't have to explain to another MS patient what it's like to have it. So
it's a culture of knowing, so you don't have to explain to someone else what fatigue is.
No. But that's my whole point for the ride, is to A, try and show people, but B, to raise money to support these kind of projects globally, because it's not through the US or UK or Danish or UAE MS societies or anything like that. It's a global fund so that people can come from all over the world, because MS doesn't care where you live, really, what country. It doesn't see the border. And we want it to be able to give people, patients, some hope that if they're doing something and they're backed up and organized, that we can help them get going. This isn't funding vast clinical trials. I mean, we're going for $1 million, which any British person, they're all quite conservative, goes, oh gosh, how much? And the Americans go, is that all? Because you're used to such big funds. And I thought, well, it's somewhere in the middle and it's a good sounding number. And if I raise $750,000, no one would say, well, gee, Dom, you suck. But it's the awareness and everything. And it's going through the Brain Health Center of the Rockies. So we have a special ring fenced fund. So when somebody donates, it doesn't go into a general thing. It goes straight to the Ride Canada for MS.
Where can people find out about this? Because people listening are going to want to try to donate.
There's a website, www.rc and then the digit 4 ms.org. So www.rc4ms.org, which is Ride Canada 4ms.org. And it's all there. And if you don't want to read a single thing, but you're feeling generous, you can give just $1. So if you can give $1, give $1, because it's $1 more that we've got, and we're really grateful.
You and I share an opinion that exercise is probably the least appreciated disease modifying therapy, and so many people that I see in clinic are scared to exercise, or they feel like exercise is going to make their disease worse, and we spend a lot of energy talking about that.
I've got to take issue with you on something. I don't think we share an opinion. This is well documented. It's not just you and me going, you should do more exercise. It's well known.
That's well
it's not a thing between us. So everyone's got to understand this is not just a couple of people. We're not on the fringes.
Correct. No, that's well stated. You're right.
Well, it's weird because, I get people getting in touch with me. I'm not a doctor like you, but still people ask me things. And somebody, it's a young lady in the US, and this is in the last week, said, I'm 32. I do all these things. I snowboard, I surf, I rock climb, etc. But really concerned, and understandably, would she essentially damage herself by over-exercising? And I said, no. I've got to absolutely say, though, if I really go for it, on a hard workout or something, I just feel like not woozy, but a bit wobbly afterwards, and sometimes I can have some things, should we say, ping on me, I like to call it, but it will calm down, or it has never not calmed down. You find your limits, you know your limits, but you shouldn't, in my view, not approach your limits just in case, because you will never, ever find out what you can do.
Three things that I always like to keep in mind as it relates to this, particularly when I'm talking to folks in clinic. One of them is you can't harm your body through exercise. You can heat your body up, your core body temperature raises, and you can short circuit or you can bring out old symptoms, but as soon as your body cools back down, it goes away and you haven't caused any structural neurological damage. The second thing is it's okay to kind of be out of it after a workout for about 2 hours. But if you're noticing that, several hours after your workout, you can't climb the steps, you probably overdid it that day. I also like to keep in mind, what is your next day like? So if you put in 3 hours in the gym and the next day you have to be in bed, you need to back off a little bit. Keeping in mind that you're not going to harm your body is key. Otherwise, you might get scared to exert yourself. It's inspiring what you're doing. And it's also probably out of reach for some people listening. You and I have spoken about this before, and I love your messaging, which is not right across Canada like I am. What is the take home for someone who is trying to figure out how to exercise and integrate that into their working and taking care of their family lifestyle?
So have you heard the expression, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Very small chunks, but I mean, I look at Canada and think I have to cycle 50 miles a day, 12 and a half miles, and I can have a 1 hour off. That's another 12 and a half miles and I can have an hour off, if I want. 12 and a half miles is a tiny distance because I've always cycled. So no big deal. If you think 50 miles a day, I can do it as 12 and a half miles 4 times a day.
Yep.
Easy peasy. I'm going to treat it like religion. So I'm going to cycle for 6 days and then have 1 day off, because also I need to rest. If you can walk 10 steps, let's just say you're really, really struggling to walk. And if you say to yourself, well, I'm never going to ride across Canada. Who's this lunatic talking to me about this and everything? It's not important. I would say to somebody who could walk 10 steps, make it your goal. It's not an overnight thing, because goals are pretty bad, I think, if you can do them tomorrow. Make it your goal to walk 12 steps. Now, when you talk about that in percentage increase terms, that's a 20% increase in your walking distance. Yeah,
that's brilliant. And I love, you didn't say if you can walk 10, walk 20, which I think is this go hard or go home high school mentality. No. You said if you can walk 10 steps, walk 12.
But you know what I said about elephants, yeah? If you think about it, 10 steps, 5 steps out and 5 steps back. So all you have to do is go 6 steps out and 6 steps back.
Brilliant.
Yeah?
Yep.
So now you're walking 6 steps, or whatever. You've got to, it's like cycling up hills. I break it into chunks and I'm going to get to that next little bit. Then I'm going to change down a gear. I'm not going to do it all of them now, or then I'll have a drink or whatever. But that's the only way to get up long hills, is not look at the top and go, oh, good God.
You're pacing yourself.
Break it up. Yeah. It's breaking it up. I mean, riding across Canada, taking 10 steps or 6 steps or 5 steps, that's the thing. And if you're bedridden, can you sit up for 1 second? Can you sit up for 2 seconds? You know what I mean? It's because all these things stress your muscles, because exercise is essentially when you put a little bit of stress into your system and then it adapts to be able to do that again, more easily.
I think that's a super smart way of thinking about it, and I think about the challenge of climbing up steps. A lot of people I take care of in clinic, the steps in their home is a really big challenge. And yet that's a great opportunity for exercise. If you've got a railing, that's something you can practice. And I'm not asking you to run up and down steps like, high school bleachers, but using the steps, and that's such a functional exercise, I think is a really easy way of starting to approach small incremental improvements.
If you've got a handrail, I mean, you don't want to go be doing it on steps where there's nothing to hold on to. But if I walk a mile, I don't need a stick. But my right leg is not as good. But, I use poles, and I'm a real cynic. I've also got a cane. I don't generally need, but if I'm going into London, let's say, second you have a cane, everyone parts like the Red Sea around you and they look at you, because I'm not sort of objectively 85, so thinking where you'd expect a cane. And one guy looked at me and I thought, you cheeky bugger. He said, oh, what happened? I went, shrapnel, mate. It's really brutal. And, it's just like, shut up, because it's none of your business to ask me those questions, but it was just, people are seeing it. And if you're going to fly on a plane, nothing like just standing there in your cane and they go, Mr. Shepard, could you come forward, please? Really?
Well, but what you're talking about is adaptations. You're using trekking poles when you're walking. We're talking about using railings when climbing steps. You have a recumbent bike to cross Canada. These are adaptations to help you be successful. That's super smart.
But I'm also talking about, because some people, certainly in the patient community, I don't like to be branded with this or that. I'm like, own it. Make the best of it. Look for the advantages from it, It's on a recumbent trike, albeit a very sporty one, because guess what? MS, when I cycle on 2 wheels, which I used to a lot of, gets me in the neck And if you have your head up the whole time like that, and you're looking around, and also you can get a little bit wobbly. Well, if I'm on a trike, this thing, you could just stop it and go to sleep without moving. Your feet are clipped in and you're sitting on the seat. Would I rather ride a 6 kilo super fast bike with 80 mil rims and Di2 and all this? Yeah, but I can't. So I'm going to ride a really cool trike, and I'm going to own it. And if anybody says, why are you on a trike? It's because I'm really shaky sometimes when I've got MS.
When does the journey start?
Right, so it starts May 1st. I go out 2 weeks before because my stepfather lives in Halifax. I'm going to go, and he used to be a helicopter engineer, and you can't take the engineer out of the person because he's got a workshop with the tools and everything. So put the trike together, make sure everything's absolutely primo and ready to go. It's fun. I'm going through MS centers. There's people joining me. My neighbor, who's a good friend, is flying out to Montreal, and then he's going to cycle Montreal to Toronto with me.
Fantastic.
There's people that follow me on Strava that don't have MS that want to join in on bits. There's people that have MS that are joining in on bits. There's a lady in Winnipeg who said, I want to actually come forward and meet you and cycle into Winnipeg, and you must stay with me and my husband. It's just the Canadians are incredibly hospitable. And a guy I spoke to who cycled across Canada said, never get a campsite in the prairies. Go up to the door of these houses, these farms on the prairies, knock on the door and say, please may I pitch your tent on your lawn? And he said, I guarantee it'll take 3 minutes and you'll be holding a cold beer.
I'm excited.
And so I'm
I'm
so looking forward to it, Aaron.
Is there a way that we can follow you through your journey?
For sure. Everything through the website, everything on the front page of the website. So the website is all the social media and how to donate. And then if you want to get into details, you can get into it.
I'm excited for you, and thank you for this effort. Yeah. I'm also excited for people listening because I hope that your journey is going to inspire them to take 2 more steps when they're walking to their mailbox. I really do.
That's my whole thing is 2 more steps. And if you think about it, it's 1 further on the way out and 1 further on the way back. Yeah, Aaron, I'm so grateful for the chance.
Thanks for coming on the channel, and thanks for sharing your journey. I'm really excited to follow as you go along, and I'll be rooting from Ohio.